Hey guys, I'll let everyone join in before I get going here. But we are back for another beginner stream. I see Cody. Howdy, howdy. We're just about to begin. Okay, so today the plan I have for beginner stream, and this is Rick from Canada, by the way. Goodyear is vacationing in Mexico right now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of the beginner streams covering for her. So you'll see me around a lot on these Mondays, Tuesdays, and I'll still be there for like Thursdays and Fridays. So yeah. And so the plan I have today is we're going to get into some blackjack, the basic strategy phrases. That's what I want to focus on for like the first half of the stream or so, because knowing the phrases are just so important. And I can talk about, for me personally, the basic strategy phrases is just the part that made so much more sense to me. And for anyone who doesn't know what the basic strategy phrase is that I'm talking about, so what it would be is, for instance, 12. 12 stands against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. So that's an example of a basic strategy phrase. So by knowing the phrase for each hand, then you know what to do in like every situation. So that's why they're so important. You know what to do when you have, a 3-card soft 18 instead of a 2-card soft 18, because the phrase has all of the information in there. Whereas when you look at the charts, those are still great. You can learn the charts and do it that way. But there still may be some questions that come up, such as, what do I do with my 3-card soft 18 instead of just a 2-card soft 18? Exactly. So that's why we're going to be focusing on the phrases. What's going on? I see a couple more of you guys in the chat. Hello to Benzo and Jonathan. Jonathansk. I'm just going to call you Jonathan if that's all right. But yeah, so, okay, let's get into it. We're going to focus on these phrases. I'm going to be just repeating them. Kevin's back in chat. He was just on our last beginner stream. Welcome back, Kev. Oh, and I see a bunch of you guys just joined. So welcome, guys. Perfect timing because I'm just about to start. Rick Okers is back in this one too. What's going on? All right, yeah, so blackjack phrases. I'm going to be repeating them. We're going to do that for the first half of the stream. Let's begin. Hey, Rick. Oh, Kevin's saying, hey, Rick. Hey, Kev. All right, here we go. And for any of you guys that want to keep the count, I will show all cards in the double deck shoe. So if you guys are wanting to keep the count, you'll get to check your work by the end. Okay, so 8 and lower always hits. That's the basic strategy phrase for 8 and lower. Easy one, obviously, to remember. And I'll just quickly explain it again because a bunch of people did just join. So a basic strategy phrase is exactly what I just said. So an example would be 8 and lower always hits. And that's an easy one to remember. And it's just so important to just have these down pat. You can find them on the Blackjack Apprenticeship website. You can find the basic strategy phrase for every single hand for free on that website. If you want to download them, at a later time and practice those phrases even more. So 8 and lower always hits. 16 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. Blackjack. No phrase for that one. So I guess that is technically the only hand which there's not a phrase for. There's just nothing to do with the blackjack, right? So easy one. Soft 19 doubles down against dealers 6, otherwise stand. And so there's a hand which people, misplay. It's not one that comes up often. It's much more rare. And so I'm just going to burn these first 2 cards, get them out of the way, and use this as the example. So as I just stated, the phrase for soft 19 is soft 19 doubles down against dealers 6, otherwise stand. This is just a commonly misplayed hand. When you got your soft 19 against dealers 6, the correct decision, basic strategy tells us we need to double this down. Welcome, guys. See a bunch of you, a bunch more have just joined. We are working on our basic strategy phrases for the first 30 minutes of this stream. So 12 stands against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. 11, always double down 11. Easy phrase to remember on our 11s. Dealer's going to check for blackjack. And this is another misplayed hand. You hear being in casinos as much as I have. Oftentimes people are scared to double down their 11 versus dealer's 10 or dealer's ace, whatever you have it. But knowing the basic strategy decision, of course, we are not going to be scared to double this hand down. When you double down, you only receive 1 card, as we know. So no alternative action. $13 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. And so when we get some of the more, complicated hands, I'll talk about those hands. For instance, here's one. Okay, so 16 against dealers 10. For anyone that doesn't know about surrender, this is a basic strategy surrender. Most casinos don't offer surrender, but when you do get the option to surrender, you really want to be utilizing it. As an advantage player, when a game offers surrender, although we have the edge without surrendering, it's an extra 15 to 20% boost in our edge. So we want to be utilizing it. And I always am advising players to practice with surrender. It's so much easier, to go to a casino, and when they don't offer surrender, you try and surrender your 16 against dealers 10 and they don't allow it. Well, you just switch to basic strategy anyways and make the next best decision. But when you don't know surrenders and you learn everything else, and then trying to come back to it and learn that is always just going to be a little harder. So you might as well do it from the start. This is an example. 16 surrenders against dealers 10. First, they have to check for blackjack, and in this instance, they have it. So we would not get to surrender our 16. Justin saying everyone's day's been good so far. I hope so. Mine has, I can tell you that. Hanging out with you guys. I still really enjoy doing these, streams. More so I'm appearing on the advanced streams. But you know, I did these streams with all of my players. They all, of course, started from scratch. So it brings me back to those days a little bit, getting to do it with you guys. 17 and up always stands. And now the dealer has an ace, so the extra variable to this hand. Do we take insurance? And as we know, basic strategy tells us never take insurance. So therefore, we're not going to take insurance. Dealer's going to check. No blackjack. 17 and up always stands for a push. Blackjack pays 3-2. And of course, any questions you guys have, please feel free to throw them at me. Okay, 11, always doubles down. That's the phrase there. We're going to go ahead, get some action on this hand. And now we pray. And it's a win. $17 and up always stands. Okay, let's check for blackjack, nobody home. 15, here's another surrender. 15 surrenders against dealer's 10. Anyone who doesn't know the sign for surrender, it's just like this. You would just do this behind your cards. The dealer knows that you want to surrender. And then as far as what I just did there, where I take half the bet, that's what surrendering looks like. So you surrender half of your bet, and then your hand is over instantly. So just like that, when we're playing alone with the dealer, they would then flip over their card, and it's completed. $16 against dealer's 10. We'll check for blackjack, nobody home. So again, we want to surrender our 16 against dealer's 10. Hand is over. $13 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. $8 and lower always hits. Insurance is open. We don't want insurance. Nobody's home. 15 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. Soft 17 doubles down against dealers 3 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. $17 and up always stands. Push. $8 and lower always hits. Insurance is open. This time the blackjack is there. $10 doubles down against dealers 2 through 9, otherwise hit. We get to go ahead, double down. Dealer makes 21. $11, always double down. 11. Now we get our money back. So that was the last hand of this shoe. For everyone who's keeping the running count, I'll flip over the cards for you quick. There you go. Okay, so let's do some more shoes of that. That was the basic strategy phrases. Frank saying, have you ever missed a stream code? Yeah, I was just bugging him myself, Frank. Leon says she had 2 for the running count. Yeah, 2 would have been right then. 2 would have been right. Even with all that me distracting by all the talking, you still got it right. And we are going to get into the running count for the back half of the stream. So in 15 minutes, I'll switch over. 15 minutes or so, we'll start focusing on the running count. Leon saying, how do you deal with a chatty dealer? So depending, that's a good question. So as an advantage player, when I'm entering the casino, let's say it's they don't know me yet, so I'm entering and I'm sit down. Usually I'm much more willing to be chatty with the dealer, chatty with the pit boss. Might even have a quick conversation with them before I sit down at the table. The idea is just to be more natural in there and to appear like a gambler, or just that you're very comfortable, which which looks normal. So for the first bit, while I'm feeling out the casino in general, I'd be willing to chat with the dealer back and forth, but I still want to be playing my fast pace of blackjack while I'm doing that. And then I might just flip the switch. So based on after I show them my bet spread and I'm feeling out what they think about that, are they making phone calls, are they really watching now? If they are, if it's high heat, then I might continue that chatting and whatnot, and try and get them feeling more comfortable. But at a certain point, it might just switch where, okay, I know I am doomed here. It's only a matter of time. Then I might just switch and just not talk to the dealer at all, or just be very short with my replies and make it clear that I just want to play blackjack. Reason being why I want to do that is because now that I know it's a ticking time bomb, I just want to get as many hands in as possible before the back off. I just want to get what I can out of the plays. So yeah, that's what I can say about that. Benzo is saying, if you have a smaller bankroll, at what point in the negative count is it best to stop playing? So Benzo, if you're taking this advantage play very seriously, then I would recommend using the pro betting software that you gain access to with the purchase of a Blackjack apprenticeship membership. Using that software as your lifeline, because to answer that question best, it's going to be so dependent on exactly what your bankroll is, the game conditions, and when you type that in and when you're using the pro betting software, you're going to get access to what is it costing me to play in these negative counts, and you're going to be able to make that determination of when you need to not be playing negatives. So yeah, it's a blanket rule for a successful advantage player is you need to be using betting software as your lifeline. There's CVCX software, you don't have to use Blackjack Apprenticeship. That's who our partners are. That's who I recommend. That's who I use, who I believe has the best software. But there's CVCX out there as well. And it's a little cheaper. It's much harder to use, I'll warn you, but yeah, use that pro betting software as your lifeline. Okay. So here we go. Let's start a brand new shoe here, focusing on the basic strategy phrases. And I'm loving the questions, guys, so feel free to keep throwing them in there. Jonathan, I see you in chat now as well. Welcome, Jonathan. Good to see ya. Here we go. Soft 20 always stands. Push. $12 stands against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. 14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 17 and up always stands. $17 and up always stands. $9. Okay, so here's an important one. What do we do with a 9? Most common mistake is people aren't being aggressive enough with their 9. So this is what we do. 9 doubles down against dealers 3 through 6, otherwise hit. So we get action on this hand. I'm gonna go ahead, double it down. Now there's nothing left to do but hope. And hope was not enough. Dealer misses. 17 and up always stands. $17 and up always stands. Blackjack pays 3 to 2. Okay, insurance is open. We don't want insurance. Blackjack is there. 10 doubles down against dealers 2 through 9, otherwise hit. $14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. Soft 14 doubles down against dealers 5 and 6, otherwise hit. $13 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. $14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. And when you are, for you guys that are still learning the blackjack, the basic strategy phrases, what you'll notice is it's actually, easy to remember because you can make groupings of certain hands that have the exact same rule. So for instance, soft 13, not soft, hard 13, 14, 15, and 16. They all have the exact same rule. And that stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 21 is what we like to see. $17 and up always stands. $12 stands against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. Eights. Okay, so here's our first split. So eights, easy one to remember. Eights and aces have the same rule as well when it comes to the basic strategy phrases, and that is always split. So even against dealers 10, you're never in a great spot when you have 2 8s against dealers 10. We're not likely to win, but it's the lesser of 2 evils. Splitting up our 16 to make it 2 hands of 8 is the lesser of 2 evils. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to split them. 17 and up always stands. 17 and up still stands. Dealer beats us. Soft 15 doubles down against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. 15 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. So that was the last hand of the shoe. I'm just going to show the cards for everyone who was keeping the running count. Bang. There we are. Okay, so we have time to do one more of those double deck shoes, focusing on the basic strategy phrases. And yeah, so how do you guys feel about the basic strategy phrases? Are they brand new to you, or have you already heard about them and are using them to practice? Do you prefer just to follow the charts to learn? Let me know. Because I know for me in the beginning days, once I learned about the basic strategy phrases as an alternative to the charts, it was just so much easier for me to remember those. And that's what I started doing. Jonathan saying, it's been years for me, forgot, printed them out this week and relearning. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, is that, like, you know, one thing about these streams that are also amazing for us as advantage players to be doing is you can never get enough training. It's not like riding a bike. If you're not careful, it will go away on you. So even when I'm taking, you know, maybe months off between trips these days, I have to go back and, you know, just confirm that I'm still playing that perfect winning game. Leon saying, I'm finding the phrases easier to remember than the chart. Yeah, there we go, right? Like, I'm not sure what most people prefer, but yeah, I know me and you now much prefer the phrases. Frank's saying he prefers the phrases as well. Okay, so brand new shoe. Love to see it start with the blackjack. Pays 3 to 2. $17 and up always stands. $17 and up always stands. You know, I know Colin, who's the owner of Blackjack Apprenticeship, he starts out all of his test outs that he does with aspiring advantage players, and he makes them say all of the phrases to it. So not in like each hand like we're practicing right now, but before the test out begins, he asks them to recite all of the basic strategy phrases to him. And you know, I don't do that in my own test outs, but when I heard that, I thought, like, yeah, there's really fair reason to do that. Just because, you know, he also sees the importance of the phrases. 16 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. $17 and up always stands. Nine doubles down against dealers 3 through 6, otherwise hit. So we get action on this one here. Dealer makes 21. Soft 16 doubles down against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. Soft 17 doubles down against dealers 3 through 6, otherwise hit. So for instance, okay, so let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to add a card. This might, I'll make sure it doesn't mess up your guys' counts, but let's do this, okay? So I'm going to add a card there. I'm going to burn the 10, and then let's put the 4 here. So then I just added a 4. So this is a reason where, you know, your question may only be able to be answered through the phrases, and I'm going to explain that. So now we have a hand that is soft 18, and this is the basic strategy phrase that is a mouthful. So I'm going to say it. Soft 18 doubles down against dealers 2 through 6, and hits against 9 through ace, otherwise stand. That is the basic strategy phrase for soft 18. And the reason why knowing the phrase is so important is I'm going to show you here. So what do you do when you don't just have a 2-card soft 18, but you have a 4-card? So going through the phrase, okay, soft 18 wants to double down against dealers 2 through 6. So we're going to try and double this down at the casino. But considering it's not our first 2 cards, then what do we do when they say no, you can't double down this hand? Well, going to the basic strategy phrase, we know that it says doubles down against dealers 2 through 6, hits against 9 through ace, otherwise stand. So therefore we know, because we know the phrase, that we must stand here. The alternative option is hit. And this is a question that comes up in card counting forums all over the place. It constantly comes up when people are in the learning phrases, is what do you do? And it's from people that maybe have not learned the basic strategy phrase yet. So, that's it. That's a situation right there where the basic strategy phrase answers the question for you. Okay, so now we're going to continue. Always double down. $14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. Soft 18, here it is again. So soft 18 doubles down against dealers 2 through 6 and hits against 9 through ace, otherwise stand. We are going to check for blackjack, nobody's home. And so it's a commonly butchered hand, and there's no hand that's more misplayed than the soft 18. Oftentimes people in the casino are not hitting this hand, but we know we must take a hit here. 17 and up always stands. Either way, we were doomed. Sometimes there's nowhere to run. Okay. 10 doubles down against dealers 2 through 9, otherwise hit. And Frank put in chat, you can always recite the phrase if you get stuck. Like, yeah, exactly, right? So when you do have that, the brain fart, as we all have, reciting the phrase is something that's always helped me as well. $14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. $14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. Jonathan saying Code was sleeping, trying to rest up because the strat in Las Vegas still owes him. Jonathan, you are hilarious. The strat in Las Vegas, I think it owes me too. Me and Code both have to get these guys back. That said, I actually did eventually get trespassed from the strat. So personally, I don't think I'll ever be able to get that back. But a little bit about trespasses, like in the state of Nevada, a trespass legally only lasts 2 years. So I'll have to look, and maybe my, maybe it's coming up soon, that 2 years. It might be. I don't think it is yet, but. Leon saying, does the strat have good tables? Yeah, they were notoriously cutting the thinnest double deck game in all of Vegas for quite some time. I don't know if they still are, because like I said, I haven't been there for like at least over a year. But yeah, they have a double deck game that cuts really thin, and I think they're still doing that. Now, the double deck game it has a rule where you're not allowed to double down after the split. So that would be called no DAS, no double after split. So that hurts your numbers by about 5%. It's not detrimental. It sounds way worse than it really is. So it's no reason not to play it as an advantage player. But in general, yeah, the game with the strat is amazing. Leon saying we're going in March. We'll check. Yeah, you have the strat. It's also a lower limit table. So that's good for a lot of players that are in their early career, still building up the bankroll. It has lower table limits. I think Code would know what the table minimum is there better than I would. And he's saying they have double after split now. So there you go. So the game's even probably cutting a little bit worse now, but that they improved to that rule. 14 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 16 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 12 stands against dealers 4 through 6, otherwise hit. Code, do you know if what did the strat say to you when you were backed off? Was it a flat bet? Was it just no more blackjack? Did they kick you out? How was the back off at the strat? 13 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. Leon is saying, nice, we need all the good tables in Vegas, but I'll ask him to route. Yeah, and as far as Vegas goes, I know the strictly on the strip, so you know the Stratosphere is kind of at the end of the strip. It's not really considered part of it by most people. But how Vegas works in general, when you're looking at it as an advantage player, is that on the outskirts is where you get the much lower limits, and the game qualities is just as good as the beatable ones on the strip. And then directly on the strip in Vegas, the games that aren't 6 to 5 payout or aren't a CSM machine, usually it's in the high limit, and they're going to make you play a $50 or $100 minimum to get that shoe game, the double deck that's thin cut. And oftentimes, $50 min is just way more than you want to be betting when you're in the bankroll building phase of your advantage play. But that being said, Vegas is amazing because it has something for everyone. You get those lower limit tables outside the strip, and then you still have beatable games on the strip at $50 or usually $100 minimum. Code saying it was an ID check in the middle of a 2-hour session, a double ID check, and a cash out refusal without ID. So there you go. Yeah. So I mean, I imagine if you would have handed over ID, which is a great thing, you didn't, of course. It was immediately going to be either a flat bet, is what Stratosphere seems to be doing. A flat bet upon first talking to, and then usually they go to, okay, no more blackjack at all if you come back again, and if you keep coming back and keep coming back, they eventually trespass me. So that's what I can say about the strat. 16 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 13 stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. 14 also stands against dealers 2 through 6, otherwise hit. And now we got 21 beating the dealers 18. So that was the last hand of the shoe. I got 3 cards left. Flip them over for you guys. There we go. So now, Samantha Poirier said 2, which would have been the correct count. Good work. Okay, so now let's get into, for the last 20 minutes of the stream, we were doing so much talking that we went a little late with the basic strategy phrases. But yeah, let's get into the running count now. Let's mix that in. I'm going to deal real slow. Yeah, and then so I'll just start with, I won't, I know Goodyear on her stream puts out, 2 to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in aces. But I can just say, so the low cards, when we see one of those cards come out, the 2 through 6, they have a value of +1. When one of those disappears, it's beneficial for us. So 2 through 6 is +1. 7, 8, 9, those are neutral cards. We give them a value of 0. And then any of the 10s and aces, that's where we get our edge. So when we see a 10 or an ace disappear, those cards we give a value of -1. So brand new shoe. Okay, I'm gonna be a little more quieter now when we and allow you guys to keep your running count. I'll still talk about the important topics as they come up through these hands. And of course, I'll also be asking for you guys in chat what you have for your running count throughout. So let's do this. You guys making jokes in chat are cracking me up. Okay, here we go. So we've started. I'm no longer going to say the phrases. That would just get much too confusing while we're keeping our running count. So what do you guys got for your running count as of right now? Let me know in chat. I want to see what you guys got so I can determine if I need to speed up or slow down. All right. Seeing a bunch of answers in there. So I'm seeing a bunch of ones, and 1 is also what I have. So current running count is 1. So anytime we are off on the count, because we got almost all answers, there was only one answer there, which was 2. So we were just off on the count by 1 there. So anytime you're off on the count by 1, the most common mistake when you're off on the count by 1 is you either missed a card completely or you double counted a card. This is clearly going to be, this would make for being off on the count by 1. And it's just important to pin down the mistake in order to stop making that mistake. So that's the most common mistakes there. It's very easy to, like, let's say when you bust your hand and you miss the dealer's undercard. So always be making sure we're catching that dealer's undercard. And then now I'll go over when you're off on the running count by 2. The most common mistake in that case would be that you counted a card the opposite way. So I know I was doing that in the early days of my training, and it was just frustrating. Like, why am I off on 2? And I finally pinned down that sometimes in my head I would just count the card the wrong way. And so being able to pin down that mistake was able to was able to help me stop making it that much sooner. Okay. Jonathan's asking, when you have multiple hands against dealer, what's best sequence to start counting? Yeah, that's a good point that I kind of overlooked. I'm still learning the perfect way to do these beginner streams like Goodyear does so well. So let me talk about that. Jonathan asked, when you have multiple hands against dealer, what's best sequence to start counting? Yeah, it's a very good question. So let's do a couple hands like that. He's saying he added in, wait till all cards dealt and only count players, then the hits. So I'm going to break that down. Okay, so let's do that. Let's add an extra hand. And current running count, guys, is 1. So let's not forget that. It is 1. And I'll show you the process that we're using as an advantage play team in our head to actually keep that running count. Okay, and the first tip I'll give before I begin is that running count is on constant repeat in our head. So our current running count is 1. So in the back of my head, I'm saying 1, 1, 1, and it never stops. There's not an advantage player that's playing full time that I know that's not doing that exact same thing. Before you know it, it'll just become second nature. So yeah, we're repeating in our head 1, 1, 1. Okay, and then as far as updating it goes, here's how it'll look when I'm doing my head. So I'm not counting this card yet. I'm not counting this card yet, and I'll explain why in a second. Still not counting this card yet either. And then some dealers are going to deal the card face up. And I'm still not going to count this card in my head. So I'm not going to update my running count yet. And at this point, when the first player at the table gets their second card, that is where I start updating my running count. And the first reason being why is it's going to be so much easier on you mentally because you're going to get so many instances exactly like this one where you have a small card and a little card and they just cancel each other out. So it's very easy for us to continue with our it's still 1. So now updating the running count, we're still at 1. And now I would update the cards as I see them. So starting with the next player's hand, 1, 1. The 10 brings us down to 0. So we are now at 0, 0. And then I would count the dealer's card last. And it's very important that we count the dealer's card last because at some casinos, they're going to deal this one face up first. And other casinos, they're going to deal it face down first. And if you are counting the dealer's card, before the others, what might happen is you either don't count it at all, or more commonly mistake is that you count it twice. You count it once when you go, when they show it face up, and then you count it again when you come back around. So it's very important. This was with a few players that I've dealt to, just knowing that fixed, that last mistake that they kept making and not knowing why. So yes, it's very important to count the dealer's card last, and I know I repeated it a few times, but like I said, it's important. Okay, so current running count when we started was 1, and now we have 0. So we have 0. So that, I hope, answered your question, Jonathan. And we can continue. So I'm going to go back to being a little bit more quiet. So let's keep our running count is 0, 0, 0. Trip aces. Nobody home. So we get to split our aces, 1 card on each. So what do we got for a running count? We have a few more hands left still. Let's see, I want to see some answers. Okay, so everyone's saying D2 so far. D2 is what I have as well. And you see, I say everyone's picking up on the D, but for anyone else who's wondering why they say D2, why they put a D instead of like maybe a minus, is because that's another awesome tip where since it's on constant repeat in your head and we're saying D2, 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 it would take so much more brain energy to say -2, -2, -2. So that's just a quick tip, but it looks like everyone does have that. D2, D2. Okay, so let's keep going. D2, D2. So that was the last hand of the shoe. What do we got for our running count? Let's see, let's see. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Pet my cat over here. She just hangs out, begs me to pet her. But for this stream, she's actually being quiet. Usually you hear her like meowing in the background. D2, all right, everyone's got D2. We got to D2 again there. So same answer as the last time, but yeah, D2 is also what I have. So let's run through the rest of these cards. Check our work. D1, 0, 1, 0, 0. So bang, just like that. D2. Kev put in the chat, dialed. That's exactly it. We got a dialed group here right now. Okay, and so we'll have time for one more shoe, no doubt there. So quickly, I just want to go over this as another tip that can cause for mistakes. So the 6s and 9s, this is very quick to go over, but an important thing is to always be looking at the top number of the card, because if we're not, it could be very easy to get our 6s and 9s mixed up, which would very clearly cause for a mistake in our running count. So always be looking at the top number on our cards. Usually that's easy to do, but sometimes, like let's say if this was a double down, and the dealer deals it sideways, then that mistake is much easier to make. Or if a dealer, maybe it's a brand new dealer and they're still figuring it out, they're not supposed to be doing this, but they're covering that top card, and now you're looking at it from the bottom, just kind of being forced to look at the bottom. This could easily mess up your running count. So just throw that in there, and let's start this brand new shoe now. Okay. Here we go. Let's do this. I'll go a little bit faster since we're so dialed. I'll make it a little more challenging. Okay, so what do you guys got for the running count? We got about one deck left in this shoe. Let's see. I'm seeing some quick answers in there. It looks like we are still very much dialed. D7 is what I have as well. So D7, and what that tells us, the running count, saying it's D7 with one deck left would mean our true count is D7 as well. That means that this is a very negative, and we are even more likely to lose the hand than when we are at a 0. So we'd be betting as little as we possibly could at the table, or just watching the cards play out and not playing at all. D7, Johnny says taking a lunch break. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Phone call. Phones are ringing all of a sudden. Okay, so here we go. Let's finish off the rest of the shoe. D7. D7. Okay, so that was the last hand of the shoe. What do we got for our running counts? There is literally one card left. That's about as thin as a kite as you can get. So already, some quick answers. You guys are, we are dialed. All right, next beginner stream, I'm going to deal faster to you guys. All right, D1 is also what I got. D1, 0. So there we go. There's a perfect shoe. I see code put in the chat. Johnny says still on the phone. Yeah. Code was saying about the strat. He said, oh, I forgot to mention the strat is pitch for whoever does play it, if they're still in here. Yeah, and then a little bit about pitch. So, I'll throw that in here before we end today's stream. Pitch looks like this. So when it's dealt pitch, it was the original way Blackjack was dealt when it was invented, and it would be the cards would be face down like this. So you still, dealer's cards come up the same, but then for the player, they're dealt face down. So that is what pitch is. And so I guess at the Stratosphere, I always forget, which casinos are playing pitch, which are face up, because both are beatable. So it is a different, a little bit different process learning pitch. And we have videos in our classroom. I believe we have one video in our classroom explaining, how we count on pitch. It's the exact same thing, but slightly different process. And that's kind of what pitch looks like there. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining me on today's streams. I've seen some of you guys were there for, both of them today. So, thank you guys so much for supporting the community. And I know we say it all the time. We're always saying thank you, but we really do mean it. We love to have this, network of players now. I hope lots of you guys are getting benefit out of it. And we also are too. Learning from you guys, networking with you guys it's another big part of the Advantage Play life, is the network that you build. So it is always great to have you. Leanne saying, it's nice in here. We checked out the Strat last trip, but didn't play cards. Yeah, the Strat, and there's so much to do there. Like when you go to the top of the building, I believe they still have like this like roller coaster thing that is really scary. And then I believe they're doing the bungee jumping now again off of the Strat. My brother did that once years and years ago. I would never have personally. I could never do something like that. I'll just go there for the blackjack. But yeah, the Strat is a cool property. Samantha Poirier saying, hey, just a quick question. Going back to that 4-card hand with the soft 18 against the 4. The correct move is to stand, since doubling down is no longer an option, right? Yes, exactly, Samantha. So you know, if it was a 2-card hand, the correct decision would be to double down. But considering you're not allowed to double down a 4-card hand, then we would need to stand. And that's where the basic strategy phrases come in very handy, like I was talking about. Okay. You have to revert to the hard total rules. No, not necessarily. So you're still using the soft 18 rule. And so I'll say that one again for you. So soft 18 doubles down against dealers 2 through 6, hits against 9 through ace, otherwise stand. And so that's why they're so important to know, because they have everything in there. It said double down against dealers 2 through 6, but considering we can't double it down, then we revert to the other side of the rule where it says otherwise stand. So that's where it like answers the question for us. And you know, that's a confusing hand. That soft 18 is a confusing hand. That's the one that comes up in forums all the time, is how to play that perfectly. So I hope that answers your question. Johnny's saying, so you'll go against the pit bosses, but not bungee jump. Exactly. Yeah. I know Goodyear's jumped out of a plane as well. I don't know. It would take so much convincing to ever get me to do something like that. Even though, you know, I'm a numbers person and the numbers say you're safe, but unnecessary risk is what I say to them. Samantha saying, gotcha, other part of the phrase comes in handy. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know, there's more instances where you'll need that besides the soft 18. So yeah. All right. Thank you guys. So you know, if you're looking to come on more of these streams, we'd love to have you, and our stream schedule is on the calendar. That's the easiest way to see it. When we're live, we're live, you know, from Monday to Friday. We have times on all of those days. Yeah, so we have kind of like some times for everyone now. So the next stream, the next immediate stream will be with me tomorrow at 12 Eastern, at noon Eastern, or sorry, at noon Mountain Time, rather. My mistake. But yeah, that's why you just go to the calendar, and they're all out there correctly, the correct times. Code's asking, what's the risk of ruin on skydiving? It's a good question. We'd have to Google that. And Kev saying, definitely more than 1%. If it was 1%, I don't think, would anyone do it if it was 1%? Goodness, if I Googled it and it was 1%, like I would absolutely never go. Okay, take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and see you on the next stream. Do you guys want to see my cat? Who wants to see my cat? I'll wake her from her sleep, just so. It's the most beautiful cat in the whole world, I think. Okay, some people are saying yes. So this is Rick from Canada's cat face reveal. That's what we're doing. There she is. Take care, everybody.